And now, let me make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah, let's talk about assignment 4. And assignment 4 is called a simple calculator. And what you will be doing is figuring out, and I don't mean the calculator like the one you carry in your pocket to math class that has all the numbers and the symbols and things on it. That's not the calculator I'm talking about. A simple calculator is a calculator that can do something specific for you. Like if I give it Celsius, it will convert it to Fahrenheit. Or if I give it the length and height of a rectangle, it will tell me the area of the rectangle. Something like that. If you want to get more advanced, try doing like a mortgage calculator or an interest calculator or something like that. Okay, so those are some possibilities. Here's some ideas of different calculators that you can use. Lots of things in science, lots of formulas that you can pick. But what we're going to do is we're going to follow a few steps. Okay? And I'm going to have you try something this time that's a little bit different. Okay? I'm going to have you try building the logic of this using comments before you type any code. This is a really common coding strategy. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a comment, and I'm going to say, first thing I want to do is get input from the user. Okay, and then I want to convert to numbers, and then I want to do the calculation, and finally I want to print the result. Now I'm going to do the area of a rectangle. So don't steal my idea, just pick any other calculator on the entire planet and you can use that one. But I'm going to get length and height from the user, or length and width from the user, and use that to calculate a rectangle. So I'm going to say str length, and I'm going to say input, enter the rectangle length. And I'm going to say str width equals input, enter the width. And I'm going to actually, before I go any further, I'm going to go up a little higher, and I'm going to just tell the user what it is we're doing. Because if I just say enter the length and the width, they won't know what we're doing. So intro the user. This is a good idea, so you can kind of tell your user, hey, this is what this is. Print. Welcome to my rectangle area calculator. And then maybe I want to do something like this. I'm going to show you a little trick right now. You ready for this? I said you can't do math with a string, but I kind of lied. You can actually do, I said you could add two strings together, but there's one more thing you can do with a string. You can multiply a string. So if I say that hyphen and I do times 60, all it's going to do is print that 60 times, which is a really handy shortcut, because now if I run this, you can see it says welcome to my rectangle area calculator, and then it prints a little visual line. Now you need to remember, when we're talking about strings and the command line interface, which is what it is we're using here, we're kind of limited. Like we don't have any fancy visuals. I can't change the colors or do like flashing text or animations or windows that swoop in, or, you know, if you're an Apple fan, it doesn't have like semi-transparent buttons or anything like that. It's pretty simple. So maybe I just do a horizontal line using 60 hyphen characters, but it's better than nothing. The other thing we can do that's useful is if I have a string here, I don't want that. If I have a string here and I say this, now notice, not a forward slash, it's a backslash. Backslash n is the new line character. So if I print that, it will actually give me two, not one, but two blank lines. The reason it gives me two blank lines is because print already has a new line character at the end of it. It automatically inserts it by default. You can turn that off if you want, but it's gonna print the escape character \n, which is one new line, and then it will automatically insert another new line after that because it's the print statement, and that's what it does. So now when I run that, you can see here, welcome to my rectangle area calculator. It just gives it a little breathing room. Now, if I wanted just one blank line, I would just print an empty string like that. And there we go. Also works just fine. Another way I could do that is I could say plus that. So if I expand that and give it a little white space so you can read it, it says print 60 of those, and then add to that at the end one of those. So there's that. Okay. That gives me the blank line. So now I shouldn't bother entering anything yet because I'm not doing anything with it. If I enter those values, they're just going to go into those strings, and then they'll just disappear because the program ends at that point. So what I want to do now is I'm actually just following the instructions that I left for myself, doing this step by step. So if I want to convert those to numbers, I'm going to go ahead and convert them to integers. We're going to leave a little bit of an opening for our users to mess us up here, because if somebody enters 3.5 and I try and convert that to an int, I'm going to get an error. But we're just going to not worry about that right now. We'll worry about that later when we're really doing serious programs. So I'm going to say int length, and I'm going to say int width, just like that. Okay, so now I'm getting the length and the width, putting them into string variables, strlen, strwidth, and then I'm taking those length and width, running them through the int function to convert them and putting them into int length, int width. Now I make sure that before I do the calculation that I have the right kind of numbers. Now the area of a rectangle is pretty simple. It's just length times width. So if I just say int area equals length times width, there's that. And then the last step here, I'm going to make sure I have room to put that. The last step here is to print something useful. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to print, I'm going to use an F string. And I could do this. That's the most basic thing. The area of the rectangle is int area. But I could be a little bit fancier than that. The area of A, if I say int length times int width. Now, it's not actually doing math there. Obviously, I'm using the x, which is the multiplication symbol everywhere except in programming. But what it's going to print out is the area of a 3x5 rectangle is 15. So now it's printing something actually pretty useful. And the last thing I want to do is, because it's going to print this right beneath the width, is I'm going to start it out with a new line character. So I can put a new line character anywhere. I can put it right in the middle of this word if I want to. If I have \n anywhere in a string, it's going to put a new line character in there. And if I want a new line character right here, I can do that too, \n. So now it'll print this on two lines. So let's run this and check it out. So if I go 4 by 5, the area of a 4 by 5 rectangle is 20. There's my calculator. That's the whole thing. And the nice thing about this that I want to point out one more time is because I've asked you guys to put comments in your code, and I'm going to really start giving you that feedback more heavily as we get into the more complicated programs, because we're going to do this for your own good, not mine, is that you need to have comments in your code. But you'll notice, since I started with comments, not only did I make it easier for myself by sort of planning out my logic ahead of time, but now I'm done with comments already. So double benefit there. And commenting on your code isn't just something that's important for you as an individual, but when you start programming, if you program professionally, 99% of all coders or software engineers work in groups. So if you're working on a piece of code and you don't have comments in there saying, here's what I'm thinking, or here's why I did this, or here's the logic, then the person that you're working with is going to hate your guts because they won't be able to figure out what the heck you're doing. Okay, even if it seems obvious to you. But you might be kicking yourself if you work on a project for a while and then you go away for a 2-week vacation to Hawaii because you make good money as a software engineer. And then you come back from Hawaii and you can't remember anything it was that you were doing before you left. It would be nice to have comments to sort of refresh your memory and get back into it. So this is what that looks like. Now, there is a way that I can simplify this, and I'm going to show you the simplified version. You don't have to use this technique, but I can actually take that input and I can nest it inside these int declarations and just go straight to an integer. So if I say this, and I wrap that in an int, and I do this, and wrap that one in an int, then I don't even need these. And I make the whole thing shorter. It does the exact same thing. It's going to ask for the input, convert it to an int, put it in that variable. So nesting those functions works really well as long as you remember what you're doing. The other downside to this is I can't even check to see if what they put in is a valid integer because it's just going to go straight into converting it. So if they put something that's not a valid integer in there, I'm going to have a problem. So if I put 4 and 5 in there, it works great. But if I put Bill in there, it's going to give me an immediate error. Now, there are other ways to deal with that immediate error, but for now, just be aware that that's a thing that you need to be careful of. But I'm fine for this project if you use nested functions like that. All right, so any questions about this assignment? Any calculator except for the area of a rectangle is fine with me. I would like it, I'm not going to say you have to get credit, but I would like it if you asked for at least 2 inputs from the user. You must ask for at least 1 to get credit. I'd like it if you ask for 2. Challenge yourself a little bit more.